Remember, I picked the Yankees to win the World Series because I thought they had the advantage in pitching.
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans, and welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. And today's episode is brought to you by our good friends over at PrizePicks. PrizePicks, download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to win $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or whatever it's called now, and on Instagram. I am your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on the Instagrams. So this was a game that when people look back at it, they will see the final score was 4-2. And they will see that, oh, well, it was a good game. It was a close game. And then those of us who actually watched it will know that this was the most lopsided 4-2 victory you will ever see. And it seemed over in the first, even though technically there were several innings where the Yankees were only a swing away from getting into it. And yes, there were a couple of times, quite frankly, I've not been impressed by the home plate umpiring against either side in this particular game. And yes, we all saw that the bottom of the seventh inning, Gleyber Torres was called out on a high pitch. Okay, I said it. This is not a game to blame on the umps. The Yankees didn't lose this game because of the umps. The Yankees, who had to win this game, obviously, you don't want to fall behind uh, 3-0. But if they won this game, then there would be a major swing in the momentum of the entire series. If they won this game, game 3, where you had Clark Schmidt pitching for New York and Los Angeles was throwing Walker Buehler, who, yes, Walker Buehler threw 4 good innings against the Mets, but Walker Buehler had a wasted year. This was a guy whose ERA this season was 5.38. This was a lost season. And again, he pitched the 4 shutout innings against the Mets about 10 days ago, but got clobbered by San Diego and had trouble. He pitched okay down the stretch, but again, this was let's be fair, a very beatable pitcher. And knowing you're facing a very beatable pitcher with an off day, so you had a full day to kick off the dust of what happened in Los Angeles, and you have a bullpen game tomorrow, and the perils of a bullpen game is if one of those dominoes flops, that could set the whole thing off. The Yankees bats were dead in LA, so a win today would mean win a bullpen game, and suddenly this is a World Series again. And you looked up and you saw first inning, boom, Freeman home run. It was and in some ways, it was almost like Freeman's second walk-off home run in the World Series. I mean, am I wrong? Is there a soul, any Yankee fan who's following this tonight, look me in the eye or put it in the comments section or put it below in the comments here on the YouTubes or on Twitter or on Instagram or whatever. Look me in the eye and tell me you thought the Yankees were going to win the game after Freddie Freeman's first inning homer. It immediately set the tone. You could feel the air leaving the stadium. There was a frenzy at the stadium. Finally, for the first time since 2009, the World Series is back in the Bronx, and nearly 50,000 people are shoehorned into the stadium, going bananas. There's Martha Stewart in a fur coat. There's Billy Crystal sitting right up front. Freeman homers. You see Ohtani coming out in a sling and practically holding his arm in place after he was walked. When Freeman homered, that was it. 3 batters in. It seemed like it was a 6-run homer in the bottom of the ninth again. I know 6-run homers aren't. I'm not making a point. And it was only 2-0. And there were weird things that happened, like the bunt. They tried to bunt, Edman trying to bunt. And I actually think he was safe at home, but it wasn't conclusive. And Kiki Hernandez getting thrown out, and there's all sorts of things that happened. And the Dodgers were kind of leaving the door open a little bit. But the thing was, Walker Buehler reached back and against the two New York teams pitched 9 shutout innings, 4 against the Mets, 5 against the Yankees. Now, I posted on Twitter, I thought Buehler should have pitched the 6th. I know I'm a super broken record on this, but knowing they have a bullpen game tomorrow, I thought every out they could squeeze out of Buehler is an out they don't have to worry about tomorrow. But in the end, it almost doesn't matter. Gratterall got into trouble, Vesia got out of it. Hudson got into trouble, Banda got out of it, granted with a little bit of the help of a high call. Brazier allows a walk. He strikes out his way out of it. Kopech comes up, and with 2 outs in the bottom of the ninth, up 4-0, Verdugo hits a 2-run homer. And I don't think a single Dodger fan in the world was worried at that point. In fact, I bet they didn't even mind. There was already a runner on base, and the 2-run homer meant the exact same as a walk. And so you have the logic of, I'm going to throw him a strike. A lot of good things can happen if you throw a strike. He could pop up. He could ground out. He can hit a deep fly ball that's caught. He could take it. He could swing and miss at it. Or he can hit a home run. And so, all right, so let up a 2-run homer and he got the next batter out. And with that, the Dodgers are up. Granted, it's 4-2. The box score is 4-2. But did it ever seem, even when it was 4-0, it felt like it was 8-0. Torres walked twice, Soto walked once, Judge walked once. So Torres, Soto, and Judge got on base a combined 4 times. None of them got a hit. Chisholm didn't get a hit. The law firm of Trevino and Wells didn't get a hit. Judge did not get a hit. He struck out, hit a deep fly ball. He walked. Stanton showed up again, surprise. He doubled and singled. Okay, but got stranded. Rizzo was the only person who got stranded. Rizzo showed up. He got a hit, and he got a walk. All right. And that was it. I mean, Ohtani walked and got hit by a pitch. Betts walked and got a hit in that little blue pit that scored a run. It was all they needed. It was all. And Lux got on base and scored. Edman got on base and scored. So, I mean, they got their 4 runs. Well, they got the 4th run in the 6th inning. It was like, okay. It felt like it was 9-0 at that point. One of the ironic things that happened in the game, in my humble opinion, is, Leiter got out of a jam. Clark Schmidt didn't have it today. Clark Schmidt didn't have it. He didn't get through the 3rd. He let up 6 base runners in 2 2/3 innings. 4 with walks, 2 with hits. And I was listening to John Sterling and Susan Waldman as I was walking Eleanor, the dog, and she just was Susan Waldman was just pointing out that the Dodgers just grind out every at bat. It seemed like every single at bat was going 2-2, 3-1, 3-2. And so, Schmidt didn't make it out of the third, and he threw 68 pitches. And Leiter got out of a bases loaded jam. But the irony is that in the fourth inning, Nestor Cortez Jr. came out, and he inherited two runners, and he got 5 outs. That's the situation you put Nestor Cortez Jr. in a middle relief role, not with the game on the line. By the way, Hill also pitched 2/3 of an inning, did not let up a run. The Dodgers are throwing a bullpen game. I witnessed one of the bullpen games, which was the clincher against the New York Mets. They threw a bullpen game with their backs against the wall against San Diego, and they won that game. Now, here's where it gets scary for the Yankees. The Dodgers probably are not going to throw Kopech. Kopech threw a lot of pitches. He threw 24 pitches. But Banda only threw 10. Daniel Hudson, he threw 22 pitches, but not very stressful. Brazier threw 22 pitches. He's probably available. Gratterall threw how many did he throw? Where the hell is he on the list there? He threw 18 pitches. And there are a bunch of pitchers that the Dodgers haven't even used yet in this game. They didn't use Trinan. They didn't use Honeywell, who pitched well in the series against the Mets. They didn't use Kasparius. Is that how you pronounce his name? Ben Kasparius, the Connecticut kid, who pitched well in the series against the Mets. They have pitchers they haven't even touched yet. And if they bring back Gratterall, Vesia, or Brazier, they can have them throw an inning there. If some of those other pitchers can give them 2, then these are new looks for the Yankees. And they're going to be pressing. They pressed in this game. When we come back, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what the Yankees are facing, and also just a little bit about how this game was oddly referred to in my home. Hey, get ready to tackle NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, customers can bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So if you get the hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel. It's an official sportsbook partner of the National Football League. Now, I mentioned the other day that I was walking the dog at the time of Freddie Freeman's home run. I'm home, and my wife and my 2 kids don't really care about baseball. And so during the World Series, I tend to be watching it on the TV, or a lot of times I'm listening to it on the radio, doing chores and things like that. And so I'm watching the game, and no one else in the home is paying attention to it. Now, my son Matty, who is a history major at the Cal State University, and this weekend I'm very proud of him. He won a martial arts tournament. He loves doing the martial arts, and he loves his history. He loves his classical history, ancient Rome, ancient Egypt, ancient Greece, ancient Japan. And he saw I was watching the game, and the game was over, and he dutifully asked me what happened in the game. And I said, well, the Dodgers And by the way, at one point, my son nominally was a Dodger fan, but he never really cared. Uh, I said, "Well, the Dodgers are on the verge of beating the Yankees in 4 straight games, and both teams are highly touted and very wealthy, but the Dodgers seem to have their number." And he said, "Ah, do you know what it reminds me of? The Battle of Gaugamela." I said, "Okay, I'll bite. Why does this remind you of the Battle of Gaugamela?" And he said, "Well, that was the battle of which Alexander the Great faced off against Darius the Third of the Achaemenid Empire. I think that's what it is. Somewhere in Persia, I guess modern day Iraq. And the Persian army faced against the Greek army, Macedonian army, led by Alexander the Great. And even though the uh, the Persian Empire was stronger and was better equipped and had better numbers, the strategy was all in the hands of Alexander the Great, and that the Persians did not interrupt the supply lines of Alexander along the way. They were overly cocky and they weren't prepared for the attack, and it became all wiped out by Alexander the Great. That was his post game analysis of what happened. And where was he wrong? Where was he wrong? The Persian Empire, aka the New York Yankees, well equipped, but didn't do the little things that Alexander the Great on the road was able to do. And I defy you to show me one other baseball podcast that is going to bring up the Battle of Gaugamela today and bring up what happened in game 3 of the 2024 World Series and tie it to a battle that also took place in October 1st, 331 BCE. Now, Gravity Fallout Pines is here. He's an everyday Sully. He says, "Love you, Sully. Love you right back. I was hoping for a Yankee win tonight because a good series would be good for MLB." You know what? I will agree with you to a degree. Uh, to see the Yankees and the Dodgers lock antlers for a great series where the stars are shining bright and big wins. The first game was star-studded, big plays, big players, Stanton home run, Freeman home run, back and forth. Looked like we may have had a classic. But don't blame anyone but the Yankees or Darius the Third in the Persian Empire, as my son would call him, because yeah, it'd be great for baseball if these two titans clashed. But do you know what? One hasn't shown up. As I said before, 4-2 is a very misleading final score. This Yankee team looked dead from the neck up. They kept popping up. They kept swinging at bad pitches. Don't blame this on the umpire. Trade Bill writes me. Losing game 1 the way they did totally took the wind out of New York sails and gave all the important momentum to the Dodgers. Yanks hold that game. It's a completely different series. Yeah, I think you're right. And I think there are instances when a game 1 win can knock a team on its butt. The thing that made the Kirk Gibson home run so startling back in 1998 was that obviously Gibson was injured. The Dodgers had one of the weakest lineups you will ever see, and the A's were overwhelmingly superior. But when the only thing everyone knew was that the Dodgers had Oral Hershiser, and everyone in their mind kind of earmarked that Hershiser was probably going to win his starts. He was unstoppable. The only way the Mets won 2 of his starts in the NLCS was that the bullpen collapsed. But if you keep Hershiser in for the whole game, they were going to win both those games. So you knew Hershiser was pitching game 2. And Storm Davis was going to pitch game 2. it was almost as if the A's were conceding game 2 of that World Series, that you knew Hershiser was gonna win. When Gibson's homer left off his bat, after Eckersley served it up. Nice sentence, Sully. Um, for a lot of people watching the game, it was sort of a double whammy because, oh my God, the Dodgers won and Hershiser's pitching tomorrow. All of a sudden, the intense underdog Dodgers were well on their way to being up 2-0. Well on their way. And they did go up 2-0. Now, when they wound up stealing game 4, and that wound up winning the World Series, setting up the 3-1 lead against the A's. But that game 1 victory hobbled the A's. And another game 1 victory against Oakland just 2 years later, when Eric Davis homered in the first off of Dave Stewart. Dave Stewart was totally unstoppable that year, certainly unstoppable in the postseason, as he was the 89 World Series MVP and the 90 ALCS MVP. He was the big game pitcher in all of baseball. And Eric Davis basically punched him in the mouth with a first inning home run, knocked the A's backwards, and the Reds won game 1 decisively. And the A's never recovered. You've seen that happen when good teams get a big game 1 loss. Sometimes it just sets the team completely on a spiral. And that is exactly what happened in game 1. That was in the Yankees' hands. If they brought Tim Hill in to get the final out, or they don't take Garrett Cole out when they did, or just they bring Tim Hill. And he gets out of that inning. And they hold on to it. This is a totally different series, even if everything else happened exactly the same way. This series being 2-1 LA with a bullpen game is a totally different series. Heel against a bullpen game. The Yankees could look at that and go like, we have a really good chance of having this being tied 2-2. Tied 2-2, you're going back to Los Angeles, and game 6 is guaranteed, and game 6s tend to be great. So, try be Bill, as I don't know how to pronounce your name. There you go. Yeah, you're right. This took the wind out of their sails, and look what they got. By the way, Gravity Fallout Pine says, Sully bringing up the 88 and 90 Dodgers is a dagger to this A's fan. Well, Gravity Fallout Pines, I did Locked On A's all year, so you can't say I'm anti-A's. But I will say that I'm totally right. I know it, and you know it, that I'm totally right, that those series were absolute punches to the mouth, and they happened in game 1. Same thing happened to the Yankees this year. Hey, let's hear from PrizePicks. It's the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to us all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks. PrizePicks puts its members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. And PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action. Join over 10 million users today. And you can get on the action in over 30 states, including Florida, Texas, Georgia, and right here in California. PrizePicks also offers weekly projections that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, PrizePicks discounts select player projections up to 25% or even more value for your lineups. So here's what you got to do. You got to download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Let me repeat that. Download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONMLB. You get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. Run your game. Is this World Series over? No, it's not. 20 years ago, we saw a team come back 3 games, who were down 3-0. Now, Am I comparing this team, this Yankee team, with the '04 Red Sox? Of course I'm not. However, everyone thought that team was dead too. Everyone thought that team was dead from the neck up. They are not going to win 4 games tomorrow. They could win 1. Luis Gil is pitching for the Yankees. Gil um, has pitched, his last game, his last start was against Pittsburgh. Didn't pitch particularly well. But Gil, for the last half of the season was bad. The first half of the season was pretty good. If Gil could just have a decent game, and the Yankee bats against the Dodger bullpen game can wake up for just a day. Just a day, you get smart at bats. Just a day, Judge remembers who the hell he is. You're hearing people say, I heard someone actually say maybe it was a mistake re-signing Judge. If you're booing Judge, I mean, I don't want to see A-Rod 2.0. A-Rod got booed for a bunch of his bad postseason play, and yet there were several years they would have missed the playoffs altogether if not for A-Rod. Same thing for this year. You remove Judge from this team. Remember what happened when Judge was removed from the team in 2023? They had to struggle to finish above 500. You remove Judge from this team, you think you're passing the Orioles? You're the visiting team in the wild card if you're lucky. With Judge, who's going to win yet another American League MVP, the Yankees had, say with me, the best record in the American League. So let's pump the brakes on a bunch of nonsense there. But Judge has had a demonstrably awful World Series. He has been bad. He has one more hit than me. And I am tied with World Series extra base hits with Aaron Judge. That's not good. That's not good. But if he has one big day against the Dodger bullpen and Gil pitches well, guess what? That's a win. And if they win that game, Garrett Cole is pitching the next game. That is still the best pitching matchup, head to head. There is a clear lane to have this series go back to Los Angeles. Do I think it's going to happen? No, I don't. But is it outlandish to think that they can get back to LA? Of course not. Of course not. Gil has to pitch well. The Yankee bats have to hit. They essentially have to do what everyone thought they were going to do, but didn't. They have to have it happen for one day and then pick up the slack for the next day. They can't worry about winning 4 in a row. They have to worry about winning 1 in a row. And tomorrow is an extraordinarily winnable game. I thought that from the start. I thought that from the beginning. Ruth W. says, Judge Bat is completely cold. He's going to have a long, bleak winter if things don't change. That's true. And by the way, this is another reason why I think they should give out the awards for Cy Young, Rookie of the Year, MVP, all that stuff in that tiny break between the end of the season and the beginning of the wild card series. That's when you present the awards, because inevitably, if Judge wets the bed tomorrow and the Yankees get swept and they present Judge with his MVP award, it's all going to be, oh, well, where was this MVP? Or there'll be some people saying, how could he win the MVP when he was bad in the World Series? I heard those same people, a lot of them were in the Bay Area when I was living up in the Bay Area, saying, how is Kershaw winning the Cy Young Award when he stunk in the playoffs and Madison Bumgarner dominated? Because the awards are voted on before the playoffs begin. So present them before the playoffs begin. You have the results, present them. And we would have known all this way. You won't say the presumptive MVP, he would have been the MVP. Tomorrow could be the last day of baseball. And we'll see. We'll see. When the series is over, I'm gonna continue doing podcasts all through the off season. But I honestly didn't think that we would be facing the end of the series on Tuesday. I was gonna make plans on Friday to take my sons to the screening. They're doing a revival of Starship Troopers at Vidiot's in Eagle Rock. But I thought, oh man, that'll be game 6 of the World Series. Or maybe it won't be. So follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter, or whatever it's called now. And on Instagram, I'm your pal Sully at Sully Baseball Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Giving you a little bit of a history lesson of the Battle of Gaugamela, courtesy of my son Matty. And oh yeah, the Yankees are on the verge of being swept out of the World Series. This has been Locked On MLB. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.